In this video we're going to tell you what we've learned and also share with you all our costs for our 47 days and nights in France, Spain and Portugal.
And we're also going to be giving some clues as to the destination of our next big trip.
Shh. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, as that will help us make more videos like this one. What did you learn on our trip?
Okay, well, it wasn't just about learning on the trip, it was learning about the whole experience, and part of that was planning the trip, packing the house up, doing all those sorts of things, and leaving work as well. And I think one thing that I have learned is that as exciting as all of this is, it's quite stressful. You know, these are major stresses. You know, changing job or leaving a job, leaving a house, packing all these things up. Actually, you know, part of it is coming to terms with a very different lifestyle as well. So I've learnt that. That's one thing.
You know, and are we doing the right thing? You know, should we have remained working? Yeah. We're taking a huge risk, especially as things are at the moment.
The economy's, you know, tanking.
Prices rising and everything. This would probably be the worst time that we could have chosen, but hey ho, you know, we've done it. So
yeah, and sometimes you've just got to look at life in the time you're given on the planet, rather than what money you're going to make out of things. So we decided now is the time. Yeah,
it's quality of life was the thing, really. We've had enough of work now.
For now.
Yeah. So what did we learn, Peg? Anything else?
Yeah, I think there were a few different things as well, because like I was saying, we're not on holiday, we're travelling. And one of the things is, like, normally in your working week you'd work for 5 days, have 2 days off. That doesn't happen in travelling. So what you really need to do, and what we didn't do too much, was book in some down days.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, as much as it's lovely to go sightseeing, with the best will in the world, I think if you were sightseeing every day of your life, it would get to be too much. Plus you need to take care of business.
Yeah,
you know,
there's all sorts of things.
Washing needs to be done, shopping needs to be done. So I would say we've definitely learned to book in down days. Definitely,
yeah. It's good to have some kind of structured approach to the week. Although we did make a lot of things up as we were going along, in all honesty. We had a vague idea of what we were planning to do, but we just made a lot of it up as we went along.
Yeah.
But there are a few things that I think are worth mentioning at this point.
Yeah.
So before we went, we got one of these currency cards, so you preload money onto it before you go. So we put a load of euros on, which was rather fortunate, considering we lost all our cash before we even set off.
Yeah.
And what we found out was that there's a lot of cash points out there that were trying to charge us just to draw our euros out that we were already prepaid for. So sometimes it was €7.50, €7.50, sometimes it was €5, sometimes it was €3. And we actually, one day we went around lots of different cash points testing this out, and we actually found that they don't all, you know, some are free even.
Yeah.
We found it quite difficult getting cash out of cash points without there being a charge, but we've managed to find one today, no charge, no €3.50, no €5, no €7 charge, completely free. Thank you very much.
Very popular, and we understand why it is popular.
Yeah, it's popular with us, that's for certain. So I would say that if you've got one of these multi-currency cards and you find a cash point that wants to charge you for it, perhaps don't do that. Move on to the next cash point machine and just keep trying till you find one that's free. There will be one.
It's the individual banks that are charging.
Yeah, down to the individual banks whether they choose to charge you or not. And we just thought, no, we're not paying. We didn't want to pay any further commission. So we persevered until we found the free ones.
Yeah. I think another thing that I would say, if we were going to do it again, you know, learning from our own experience, is we wouldn't have planned the trip to be at the end of July and all through August, because it was just so hot.
The pool looks absolutely amazing.
I'm melting.
And we're going to take full advantage of this because we're just so hot.
It was so hot everywhere we went, and obviously a lot busier everywhere we went. I mean, we've effectively retired now, so we don't have to do that in the summer holidays. So I think we were foolish to do it at that time of year, really. And if we were going to do it again, we'd definitely do it in a cooler time of the year. and a less busy time of the year. And also, you know, if we're not in France in August, then perhaps the boulangeries would have been open.
Yeah, well,
So-
that's true. Plus, I would say don't over plan. So airs are so freely available in Europe. You don't need to over plan where you want to go. In fact, we started off by planning where we were going to go the day before. After a couple of weeks or so, we would literally decide on the evening.
day,
Yeah, late on. Sometimes it was dark by the time we got to an air. There were 2 or 3 occasions the air that we'd chosen was full, and we just went on the park for night up and just find another one close by. It was easy as that. We were never far from another air, even where one was full. So yeah, don't over plan.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that we went at a very busy time of year. I'm not sure if more motorhomers would be going out of season, because maybe they all know that and we didn't. But
Yeah.
we were novices to this, so yeah, that's one lesson we've really learned.
Yeah, and just to look at Nantes as an example, we actually paid something like €30 a night to stay there.
In a campsite.
In a campsite, lovely campsite. You know, we had bushes down each side. There was all facilities were actually on our
You
pitch.
like a hedge, don't you?
We had a hedge. We had water. We could, you know, do all that good stuff. But it was €30 a night, and we didn't realise that next door was an air that was about half the price. So we could have just turned up and used that. So sometimes a little bit of planning is probably quite useful. Perhaps we can get to a city. Then yeah, absolutely. When you're in the countryside and villages and maybe towns, it probably isn't quite so critical. But we also found in Nantes that the swimming pool across the road has a car park, and they seem happy enough for people to stay overnight at the back of their car park in their motorhomes. So if we went back again, I think we'd probably do that. No facilities, so if you don't need water or anything like that, then you can just have the swimming pool car park for nothing.
The other thing I've learnt as well, I think, is I know a little bit of French. I don't know hardly any Spanish at all, or Portuguese.
No.
And don't let that put you off going to the countries, because you can get by one way or another. And I'm not saying that expect people to speak English, but I think you can get away on body language, on pointing to things, but also just learn a couple of the common niceties, the please,
Yeah.
the thank you, and the good days. You know, to do something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so now we come into the interesting part, the costs, our budget, and what we actually spent. Where did the money go, Peg?
It was all on diamond rings and flowers for me, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why we had €1 a day for the whole trip.
Well, we were away for 47 nights, and 26 of those were completely free of charge.
Yeah, so
Accommodation-wise.
yeah, so we didn't pay for a campsite for 26 of those 47 nights.
Yeah.
We stayed at an air which was completely 100% free,
Or a supermarket car park on one night.
or a supermarket car park. That was completely free too.
Yeah. We paid for 21 nights as well, so we paid in a variety of different places. Some were airs that we paid for, and some of them were campsites we paid for.
Yeah, so anything from €5 for the cheapest place to stay, up to, I don't know, 30, €40, whatever we ended up paying. So that might have been if we were in a city like Nantes, for example, where we really wanted to be there, and so we had to pay for the campsite. But yeah, normally we would try and go the cheapest possible route, or free ideally.
So we tried to budget to spend no more than €100 per day, and that was to include absolutely everything for both of us.
Yeah, so if you exclude insurances and the ferry cost, things like that, our living day-to-day expenses on eating out, campsite fees if we chose to stay at a campsite, or food shopping, or tickets to get in somewhere, basically we gave ourselves allowed of €100 per day.
And we spent 4,600
We spent €4,600
in total.
across the 47 nights.
Yeah. And we averaged our campsite fees averaged at €11 per day.
Yeah, so we spent €510 altogether on campsites, and if you looked at it as a daily average, yeah, €11 a day.
Yeah. And food shopping?
We spent €677 on food shopping throughout the whole 47 days. What was that average?
About 14
Yeah,
euros a day.
Yeah, €14 a day that averaged out at.
Yeah, yeah. And then fuel was a big one.
Okay, yeah, so this accounted for about a third of our whole budget. We did a lot of miles and we don't get many miles per gallon, so consequently we ended up spending around €1,300 on fuel. As I say, about a third of our cost, about €27 a day.
It's an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
And you know, we were talking about things that we've learned. One of the things that we definitely learned to do is take our time over travelling a lot longer. We wouldn't move on as quickly as we did.
Definitely.
We'd planned it to see family and friends, and we were quite ambitious in what we could achieve in that time, but I think it also had an impact on the budget too.
Definitely.
So toll charges were another thing that we hadn't really considered how much we'd spend, and we ended up spending
€243.
€5 per day on toll charges, and that's
average.
another thing that you could avoid that easily. You know, you could go on the B roads, but what I would say is it's lovely going on the B roads and you see beautiful places. Sometimes you might spend more in fuel by doing that as well, so you know, I would definitely think about that, and perhaps think about the ferry as well, where you want to get the ferry to. We just did Dover Dunkirk. If you wanted to spend most of your time in Spain, well, why not spend more on the ferry charge, on the ferry costs, but then you'd spend a lot less in fuel.
Definitely.
So you know, that's another thing to consider.
Our next category was eating out or buying tickets to go into something that we wanted to do or see.
Yeah.
So in other words, this was a bit of a luxury. We didn't need to. This is something we didn't need to do, but it's something that we wanted to do. So what did that come out at, Peg?
That came out at about €38 per day.
On average.
So that was £1,778. Euros went into that, and I think, to be fair, we were on a budget, but we also wanted to make sure that we were going to enjoy ourselves. So I think, you know, it was important to us to have some treats and have some leisure.
Exactly, yeah. And then of course there was something that we didn't account for, and that was the fine.
The fine, yeah, €51. So I think it might have been 50, and then they charged us one something. I think it was 51 something. I'm not sure. Anyway, it was something that hurt a little bit, but it you know, it could have hurt a damn sight more.
Yeah, I mean, basically we went some days where we just didn't spend any money at all.
Yeah.
And there were other days where we spent 200 plus euros, because if you fill up your tank of fuel and then you go and do something, you could easily spend 200 plus euros in a day.
Yeah.
But overall, it all averages out a lot lower.
We also had laundry costs as well. So we spent about €32, I think it was, on laundry costs. And as I say, we were very fortunate that some of our laundry was done with friends, and some of it was on the washing machine that ran on beer. Yeah.
Very good. I highly recommend that particular washing machine.
Good spin cycle.
Very good spin cycle. So in total, we spent €4,600 across the 47 nights, and we also spent, in addition to that, £279 on the ferry costs. There was a couple of insurances we took out, medical and car and travel motor insurance, which isn't in that 4,600, and the final thing is that we lost €600 in cash before we even set out, and that isn't in those figures either. So
if you were more careful of your money, and you had better insurances,
exactly,
you could do it on that. I mean, you know, everybody chooses where they're going to spend the money. We didn't mention as well, because we did take some food with us, so we did have some stock things in our larder as well, you know, tins of tomatoes, pasta sauces, pasta, rice, those kind of things as well, and tea, coffee. So we did have quite a good stock of things before we left.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly do it cheaper if you didn't do so much driving, did shorter journeys, because fuel is a huge now cost. And if you didn't go into so many sites like we did, you know, where you're having to pay 30 euros, you know, you go on a bus tour in Barcelona, 30 euros each. These types of things, they really mount up. So we just went food shopping, and we didn't travel quite so far each day. Took things at a more leisurely pace, which is probably what we'll do in the future. Then these costs would come down significantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wouldn't change it for anything, and we're very happy to have done it.
Yeah, and I think actually we stuck to quite a good budget.
Yeah, so it all worked out fine, on budget, yeah, we're looking forward to our next trip.
Yeah. Here are the clues. This country is split into 8 states. There are 6 stars on its flag.
Where's that then?
Jorn Utzon is the architect for one of this country's most famous buildings.
It's not the Eiffel Tower then.
And this country is in a continent without any active volcanoes.
Wow. Well, that narrows it down. I just don't know any.
Have you got it?
I haven't got a clue. I'm sure Peg will let me know in due course.
If you enjoyed watching the video,
Please consider liking and subscribing.
thank you.